our 20th Summer Institute. And so today, Terry and I have chosen to focus on, as a group, Connolly's key cognitive strategies. But I think it's worth us spending time as a group developing this common language around pedagogical teaching issues. And he said that there's something very powerful in a common experience that you give to all teenagers in a high school. It becomes a symbol of what that high school is about. So for instance, I know that many of you have internships, and that internship is something everybody must do. And so that's a common experience that becomes a powerful signal to the young people in the school that, in fact, we consider this particular thing important. A lot of you have these common activities, and they symbolize what your school is about. So I'm hoping that at the end of this conference, we will have some agreement around some common language that we can use inside of our schools that will help formulate good teaching for college readiness, that will help us be articulate about what that might look like. Because there is a lot of talk around the country about college readiness, and it is a grab bag for what people understand it to mean. This is a good opportunity for us to look at what we've been doing the past 5 years. And I think, like I always tell teenagers, you always have to look where you're coming from. Don't forget where you've been in order to know that you're standing on solid ground right now. So this is our data for the past 4 years, looking at the number of students who are graduating that are enrolled in college. So middle colleges, founded on college campuses, we always had kids enrolled in college, but it's not until we started with early college that we ramped up that enrollment. So you can see, since 2006 to 10, we've almost doubled the numbers. But certainly 54% to 94% is a huge increase in the percentage of seniors who graduate with college credit. Now, while we've increased the numbers, we have not lost any ground on the percent of students passing. So that is the opposite of what happened with AP. As they increased access, their pass rates went down. But that has not happened with our dual enrollment in the middle and early colleges here. We've actually also increased the accumulation of credits. We have more kids and more credits. So it's not that we've had more kids taking college classes and just a few credits. We've increased it to the average being 31.7 credits. And as you know, when you get up to 30 credits, you're not talking about the beginning classes. I should also assure you that the developmental classes are not considered in this, and that's why I put the word transferable down. Even though there's no guarantee, as all of you know working in community colleges, that our credits will be accepted anyplace else. They are ideally transferable. They're not developmental classes. So we've increased the number of students participating. We've kept the pass rate steady, but we have substantially increased the number of credits so that students on average are graduating with almost 2 years. Now, all of you have a different story here. In some cases, you're graduating students with an average of 12, and there are some schools here with 60. So this is the average, and there's a huge range in the room. And the GPA has remained constant. And the GPA is comparable to a freshman GPA, which is what our students are. In fact, it's a little bit better. If you look at transcripts of college for young people, usually that first year is pretty much a wash. So we've got kids that are moving toward 3 in their first year of college. So there are, in this room, plenty of experts who know how to do this work. It is not easy, it's definitely complicated, but the expertise definitely lies in this room, and you should rely on each other to find out how to do this. An introduction into the key cognitive strategies. I'd like to use this metaphor. There was an article in Vanity Fair, I think in April. I don't know whether any of you read it. It was called Don't Steal My Wave. It was about surfing. I know nothing about surfing, so it was a really interesting article. But did you know that if you ride the top of that wave, you'll crash down on the sand when you come in and kill yourself, literally. And so you don't want to be on the top of a wave. You want to find the curl, inside the curl, which is sometimes referred to as the sweet spot, and you want to ride that wave all the way till its end, and then you want to go back around, to come around the outside. So you never ride the wave all the way to the shore. So now, this is a stretch, I guarantee you, but I find okay, so that wave is testing in this country, and it's going to crash down, right? Because we've discovered in this country that testing has nothing to do with competence in college, and there is this huge gap. Those of us in New York City who have fought testing and done performance-based assessment knew that this was going to happen. But it's going to happen, I think, even sooner than we anticipated. So our spot is inside that wave. It's a dangerous spot because we have to maintain that students have to do way more than those tests to be successful in college. So we're inside the curl. We're not riding the wave. And it's a little shaky in there and you can get crushed. But you've got to stand firm to the fact that testing is the minimal expectation for our youngsters. And we have to find better ways, more comprehensive ways of helping our students be prepared for college. And that is what makes us leaders in this field, because nobody knows how to do it better than this group. Last year we were told by one of our participants that we should abandon those practices that dilute our efforts to prepare our students for success in college and careers. And I think that that's the tug of the work that we do. We go back to say, well, our kids do really well on tests, as if that's enough, but it is the standard measure of the states and cities that we live in. But we need to push for more than that and focus on and believe that working with young people around key cognitive strategies will in fact let them pass the test ultimately. David Connolly introduced and provided some applications to the key cognitive strategies. Can he expand the application of those strategies both school-wide within disciplines? No, he can't. We have to. All right, and that's really what I think we've learned in our relationship with EPIC. We're going to have to do that within our own classrooms in order to make this work. What is college readiness? What does it mean? What does it look like? How do we know when students are there? This is the conversation that's taking place all over the country right now. And people allude to it, and some people, give some meaning to it. But I think that we can clearly define it by saying that when students pass college classes when they're in high school, they're college ready. It's as simple as that. Then when they're able to bypass remediation, they're college ready. I'm not saying that's enough, because as we all know, students just not needing remediation and moving into a regular class does not mean they're going to stick with it. But at least we have some measure that says, all right, we know our students have completed 12 regular college credits. They should be able to continue. It's not that they passed some test. Where do we find out? There are, at this moment, multiple places where you can talk about what college readiness is. And all of you have had some experience with these. The Common Core has been a set of outcomes that have the backing of the National Council of Teachers, the National Council of Mathematics, college professors, and most districts. And I think 37 states have agreed to this Common Core instead of the standards that currently exist at the states. We will have a very good workshop on it, I think, the Friday, I can't remember the schedule offhand. Okay, we have 2 of them, math and English. So that's one movement that's trying to define the Common Core. But I also know that there's big money being invested in getting tests, national tests, tied to that Common Core at this moment. College knowledge, we have chosen to hook our stars or put our tugboat next to Dave Connolly's EPIC because of the way he defines college knowledge and because of the assessments that he's developing and we're helping to pilot. The ideas in there are the same as the ideas of all of these other places. Habits of mind, It's the Coalition of Essential Schools. I talked a little bit about the power of a single set of vocabulary in schools. If you ever went into Debbie Meyer's school, which is right here in East Harlem, every class, every teacher, what do you know and how do you know it? I think we have some teachers here that taught at that school. Do we? No? Yes, Schott taught there. Just as you walked in, Schott taught it at that school. What do you know and how do you know it? Became a mantra in every class and for every kid, and it became what the coalition calls a habit of mind. And then the intellectual dispositions related to Project Zero. So there are plenty of places where you can get some, they're all pretty much the same, they just use a slightly different language. So what does Connolly say? Those of you who were here last year, we have them on tape. You can download them off our website. You can show them to your colleagues. But basically, he says that there are 5 thinking skills necessary for students to be ready for and successful in both college and career. And these skills can be learned. They are not necessarily you have it or you don't have it. They can be learned, they can be taught, and they can be reinforced. And that's the work of college readiness for us. So, this is what his look like. This is rather complicated. I don't know, the next slide has it in a linear way, but this slide might appeal to some of you because it's not as linear. So, the cognitive strategies that he talks about, problem formulation. All of this is on your thumb drive, and it's all on the website. You can copy it down or download it. The problem formulation, restating the problem, understanding what the problem is, problematizing the work that has to happen, he feels is the first step. I think that those of you who have done the work may not say that that's the first step, because sometimes you have to do some research to even understand what the problem is. So it's not a direct linear relationship. Research is not just for the social sciences. Research can also be data collection. Whatever information you need to answer the problem. And as you all know, it's gotten easier to do research, but there's still a lot of garbage, and it's still a skill that has to be taught directly about how to find credible sources. And that we have to help our young people do now more than ever. Interpretation, that could be interpretation of data, interpretation of different points of views. When students have read multiple points of view about a different topic. And finally, communication. If you can't communicate about it in writing extensively, then you don't know it. You can't just answer a multiple choice test and think that you know it. You have to be able to explain it to somebody else. Inside, in the circle, is precision and accuracy. And originally he had it as a 5th cognitive strategy, but now sees it as part of everything. All of this has to be accurate. It can't be about nothing, you know, and it has to be backed up with some sense of authority, the work that young people do. So that's the way he defines it. He also has a chart, exact same words, but in a linear fashion, as if formulation becomes before you can access. And I think that thanks to Adana, who helped me understand that you have to go back and forth and do the 2 of them at the same time. So what if every classroom, every day, used some of these words in your school? By the end of 4 years, kids would have learned about critical thinking. It wouldn't just be a term that gets thrown around. They would have some real skills about asking each other using these words. Well, what's the problem here? How do you know what it is? And so I'm suggesting that that is one common language that we could all use to support our work inside that curl, and resist the forces of believing that tests will give us a surety that students are college ready.